Good evening, everyone. I will call us to order at 5:30 p.m. If you will please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
I don't know what happened, Dr. Martin. All right, Perfect, thank you, sir. Mrs. Turley, roll call, please, ma'am.
Marie Lawson. Walter Hadamio.
Here.
Donaldin Lorenzo. Monica Salazar. Here. Francis Lee.
Present, we do have a quorum. Now we have adoption of agenda. Board members, are there any changes to the agenda? If so, what? Any changes, Walter?
No.
All right, superintendent.
I recommend that we adopt the agenda for tonight's work session.
Excellent. Board members, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? And a second? Thank you. It has been moved by Mr. Hadamio and seconded by Ms. Salazar to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call, please. Mrs. Turley.
Mr. Hadamio.
Here.
Ms. Salazar. Ms. Lee.
Aye, motion carries. Next up, we have adoption of the meeting minutes from July 21st, 2026. Any amendments to those minutes? I have none. Walter?
I have none.
No, all right. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation, sir?
I recommend that we approve the minutes from the July 21st board meeting.
Excellent. Board members, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes as presented? Thank you. Second. I'll second. It has been moved by Ms. Salazar and seconded by Francie Lee to approve the minutes as presented. Discussion, board members. All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Turley.
Mr. Hadamio.
Yes.
Ms. Salazar. Yes. Ms. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. Mr. Wagner, first up, sir. A good thing.
Perfect. We have a great presentation tonight. Grants High School, the Pirates are here, the administrative team, and they are going to talk to you about a partnership that they are working on with the Way, the Truth, and the Life Ministries. They're going to ask for the acceptance of a donation.
Good evening. Please have patience with me. This is my first time presenting this type of situation. I understand you have the summary in front of you. So we have been meeting and actually speaking with Mr. Almanza because he actually came to us and asked how he can support us in the attendance issues that we are trying to address. Grants High School has an 80% attendance rate, which means that a large number of your students are missing almost a quarter of their education at a time. And we have a 9 to 15% literacy rate, and if students aren't at school, we can't teach, and we're not going to raise those scores. So we are attacking attendance, and he has offered to help support us by providing incentives. And when we met with him, we talked about the fact that food and gas makes a difference to teenagers. And so he is willing to donate $1,500 and $5 gift cards for either food or gas that we can then use for students in the two ways that are identified in the summary that I presented to you. But he would also like to collaborate with us to also reach out and collect additional donations, similar gift cards maybe from local businesses, so that we can continue with this incentives program throughout the entire year. And so we are requesting that the board help us in supporting this collaboration and this partnership with them, because it's going to benefit our students, it's going to benefit our teachers, it's going to help us attack the attendance rates that are causing the deficiency in our scores. Any questions?
Board members, any questions?
Is there a policy on church and school?
Should be okay if they are just donating. Right? We're not taking the kids there. There is federal rules about church and state, you know, but should be fine with it being just a donation.
When did that line get drawn between donation and?
If we were, if they took the freshman,
It's crystal clear.
yeah, it would be like if we took the whole freshman class to the church and they were there for a sermon, that we couldn't do that. He wouldn't be able to preach or any of that.
So for clarification, it is simply that he is donating. They are also going to provide an assembly for students that is related to bullying and stuff like that, but there will be no crossing the lines between church and school. They are two separate things, and he's very aware of that, and we've made it clear that these things are going on. In my previous district, we did work with the local churches who donated shoes and donated meals and donated things like that for students and came in and did so. Not specifically aware of any particular policy that would contradict it in what I've read through GCCS. And I am aware that it has taken place in other districts.
He also works with the county and does that chaplain program.
Is that fine line?
Well, and I think that Ms. Salazar is bringing this up as well because of the training session that we all were able to participate. Well, I think all of us sat through the prayer in schools and talking about that up at the NMSBA conference.
What we
And
can also do is when we're talking about the donations and stuff like that, if we're going to acknowledge it and any other businesses that maybe want to participate in this, then when we are putting it on our marquees or we are announcing it, it can be Mr. Almanza, and we don't have to be specific in addressing.
Can I join in?
Yes.
Also on that note, there are other entities in the county that do make donations to Grants High School. Knights of Columbus, they donate scholarships to our kids. They donate the facility for us to use for scholarship night. And I mean, so there is, in the past, we have used other entities, even if it is somewhat of a religious affiliation, they're not preaching to them or not doing that. So there is donations that have come from other entities.
According to that training, it's okay as long as we're not saying that we've got to say a prayer or like you said, you
As
know.
long as we're not promoting it.
Right.
correct. Did that help, Ms. Salazar?
Just as the line is crystal clear.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Any other questions for Mrs. Board right now, board members? All right, at this time, thank you. We do have consideration of approval of the donation to Grants High School from the Way, Truth and Life Ministries in the amount of $1,500. Superintendent.
Mrs. Lee, I may phrase it a little. It's more, we want to approve the partnership and definitely at this time, it's $1,500 donation, could be additional donations in the future. But I recommend that we approve the partnership.
All right, so I'm gonna ask for a little bit of clarification there because I don't think it's partnership. I think it's support for our attendance incentives. I think that maybe if we phrase it that way, that would make it a little bit more clear because as Board Member Salazar was indicating, we have to keep that very, very clear. So at this time, I will rephrase the consideration. So it would be consideration of approval of a donation to GHS, and it is from the Way, Truth and Life Ministries in the amount of $1,500 in support of attendance incentives for Grants High School. Board members, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I will second. It has been moved by Mr. Hadamio and seconded by Francie Lee to approve the donation to GHS from the Way, Truth and Life Ministries in the amount of $1,500 in support of attendance incentives. Is there any further discussion, board members? Welcome, Ms. Lorenzo. I didn't see you sneak in. All right, if there is no discussion, then I will call the vote and I'll remind board members we need to raise our hands and declare out loud. So all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Weiner.
President Lee, board members. At this time, I want to let you know, over the last 2 weeks, we've worked very hard on the graduation requirements. We brought it to the July 21st meeting, working to be compliant with PED regulations. And Ms. Romero, I think she stepped out, but we've had a whole team working on it to make sure that our graduation requirements work for us. And talked about the financial literacy. We talked about the local selected electives and
and I'll just read it here. 2 local graduation requirement units established by the Board of Education that meet the New Mexico Public Education academic content and performance standards are aligned with district graduation profile, and students shall complete 2 elective units of their choice from courses offered by the school district. Superintendent or designee shall establish administrative procedures identifying qualifying courses that satisfy the local graduation requirements. So we left that section just very generalized so the student can decide what 2 local electives that they would like to take for their graduation requirements. And that's all the changes
could be that they're taking Spanish or Charis or driver's education or statistics or band. Could be broad, what they want to choose. And I think this doesn't change our policy very much, but it does help us to be compliant.
Well, and it gets the financial literacy in which all the board members expressed in the last meeting was very important, so.
And it has been in there for.
No, it has been in, but this is putting
Now
it,
it's a credit.
not something that's just embedded.
And if you're a high level parent watching, your child can still take calculus, they can still take trigonometry. They just have to have the 4 maths.
Board members, do you have questions on this, comments? Discussion, feedback?
Exactly like on this last meeting. There's some corrections done.
Let's me getting here. I don't think I understood where the actual literacy piece is.
So the financial literacy piece is in section 2.
Okay.
There's also financial literacy embedded in the economics curriculum. But as I mentioned, this has been our policy. And this just makes it a little more solidified that they're getting it in economics, they're getting it in math, and so they're gonna be very foundational.
add something. And for clarification, classes already offered at all three high schools, financial literacy and economics. Financial literacy is embedded in economics, which takes place in the social science or the history piece, so there's no reason to call it out. We were already at 7.5 electives. We just needed to split the two, same 5.5 general electives and 2 credits for the board to choose to be compliant with the state. So it was just little tweaks to it. We also kept it broad to take a look at it over the semester or over the school year, come back with any suggestions, maybe specific classes, make edits, but this late in the school year, it's kind of late for policy change and graduation changes. Throws off master scheduling, staffing, even students requesting classes if we make massive changes. So, as a leadership team, we thought just being clear and defining it a little better for everybody to understand, and then maybe taking a look at it at the end of the school year if you guys wanted to make any adjustments.
I do remember that conversation now, it's going back, thank you.
It's been 2 weeks.
We've slept since then. That's my favorite thing to say. All right, board members, unless you have more questions or comments on this one, we do have consideration of approval of policy I-7350 IKF graduation requirements. Superintendent.
I recommend that we approve.
All right, board members, is there a motion to approve the policy as outlined tonight, policy I-7350 IKF? Stand in front.
Right. We talked about that we wanted enrollment numbers tonight because as we're talking about our strategic plan and we're looking at our schools and kind of getting a good picture of who we have and where we have kids in the district. I don't want to insult you all by reading it to you. You have the enrollment numbers. This is current as of yesterday.
July 31st.
Okay, so as of last week, we're seeing a lot of people enrolling at Mesa View.
Oh, surprise.
People want to go there and people want to go to Blue Water. They want to go to those new schools and the high-tech schools and it's neat. It's neat to have that influx of kids coming to the district from other places and but that's where we're at right now. Mrs. Jones, did you total it?
I did not total it.
I did not either. And I can't do that math in my head very well.
I think.
I need a financial literacy class.
There you go.
It's not gonna help.
Students that are middle school and a couple of years ago we were at like 250 at Laguna. So we're seeing numbers, but oftentimes we'll have like I was at Cubero today and they were telling me that they had a bunch of families coming in that didn't realize that they needed to bring their children in and enroll and re-enroll. And so there we will see that. So these numbers could change and I can report them again, Mrs. Jones, and I can report them again on August 18th, our next meeting. Yeah, we can do that.
I don't know if these.
After COVID, a lot of kids went online and there are online schools around the state where kids don't and so Dr. Martin's working very hard to provide digital learning district-wide and we want those kids back. So if their families are watching our board meeting, we send your kids back to the district. We have online learning.
Yay.
And if I can add one variable that tends to get overlooked when we're looking at numbers is the county's birth rates. And so you have to make sure you're taking that into consideration as you're starting to see trends, it always follows those birth rates, and so you can kind of project what the enrollment numbers are gonna look like.
Thank you. Board members, any other questions?
It might, based on what Mr. Chavez is saying about the 10 days to let things stabilize, it might be more appropriate for us to do an update like the first board meeting in September versus the 18th, because they won't have even been in school for 10 days at that point, so.
We could,
Makes sense.
we could carry that over to our September work session.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Weiner.
Yes, ma'am.
Action, here we go.
Now we're gonna get into the work session. As you all know, a couple of weeks ago, we decided that we were gonna have one regular meeting a month. We were gonna have work sessions where we could talk about policies and first reads. So I've asked Ms. Gallegos if she would come with some first reads tonight. And being that this is a work session, you are all welcome to discuss them.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get my screen shared. Oh, it says sharing is not turned
Uh-oh.
on. Can you pull it up?
Let me see if I,
Cooper's gonna go tell him right now.
Oh,
or not. Let me see if I'm on there. Nope, it's not turned on at all.
Cooper just went.
well, I can start talking. That's fine.
Why don't you go ahead and,
Okay.
perfect, and then we'll let you know when we're on there.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight,
Rule and share, sorry.
oh,
I think you got it on. Perfect.
tonight we'll be doing first reads for Policy Advisory Services Advisory 275 to 278. This is volume 26, number 2 for June of 2026. So this will be the second one for this year. The legislature amended the Teacher Residency Act effective May 20th of 2026. The policy removes outdated stipend language because stipends are administered through the state teacher residency fund rather than districts. And successful completion of the residency does not guarantee employment. Employment depends on district staffing needs and performance during the residency. The service commitment now applies to any New Mexico public schools rather than only the sponsoring district. And these are statutory compliance updates for this policy. And this policy is G4150 GCIA Teacher Residency Program. The next one is Policy Advisory 276, policy number J3150 JICJ, use of cell phones and electronic devices. In this one, there are two different ones that we need to look at. EC reporting child abuse and child protection. Every mandatory reporter has an individual legal obligation to immediately report suspected abuse or neglect. Informing a supervisor alone is insufficient. And the revisions also update training requirements, legal references, and reporting language to better align with New Mexico statutes and regulations. And these changes improve compliance and reinforce student safety responsibilities across the district. So that's all I have for tonight on our first. We have any questions?
I have maybe not, but we questions yet, looking at the two policies for those electronics, it was like technology going, back and forth, so are these the only two, because in some of them, like, oh, maybe one should be two, or
These are the only two that Policy Services Advisories have presented to us. When we looked at this the last time, and of course, this was the other board that made the determination, the biggest difference between the two was allowing either no cell phones at all in the school, or the other alternative was allowing cell phones for instructional purposes only. That was the biggest thing between the two. And so currently, the policy that the board had chosen was to allow cell phones for instructional purposes. So the teachers made the determination whether they wanted students to be allowed to use cell phones during that particular lesson plan.
And that's current policy?
Yes. And so with these ones, it's just adding in that component of training for digital citizenship. The age appropriate training each year, talking about screen time and the effects that it has on our students.
Board Member Lorenzo, you probably, I'm sure you know. During the legislative session in 2025, legislature passed rules about cell phones in schools. And so a year ago, a year and a month ago, we were scrambling to try to get some system in place. And so this is kind of the follow through to that, coming from
Not only cell phones, it's other devices too.
Yeah.
tablets, iPads.
Yeah, I do have a question that was brought up when we were up in Taos at the leadership conference. We were, people were already starting to talk, what about the Meta glasses? And that's probably something that we need to, as a district, look into, because I know a lot of kids are using those, and that is kind of, I keep saying, I'm sorry. Oh,
Well, the first time I saw those glasses was for graduation, so they're already out.
oh, they're out.
So last year we did start.
We have been approved by PD. But, I mean, PD aren't the matter experts on child abuse.
Right, so some of the training that we do every year that is approved by PED is our vector trainings. And those are mandatory trainings that we do. So every year we have mandated vector trainings that we do online. And one of them is the child reporting.
So it's like a contract for those?
It's online training. that we
There's
do.
you log in and you go into reporting child abuse, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information we're gonna give you. It might be that you wanna take some of it home and absorb it and look through it and keep it, and definitely that's gonna help us as we go into our strategic planning. I have to commend Miss Romero. She came in and looked at all of our data and our scores and our assessments and all of that ties to our previous strategic plan and kind of our strategic plan goals, and has provided a pretty good way for us to work with the strategic plan framework that we've got now, and gives us some good direction as to where we should head. So I'm gonna ask Mr. Chavez and Ms. Romero to join me in this presentation. Do you guys want to go to the podium, or you want us to stay here?
Board members?
I think it should be.
I'm comfortable in my, I'm
We
comfortable.
can hear you guys.
It's
And with it being
right here.
with it being a work session,
Right here. Thank you.
perfect. I tasked Ms. Romero with going through our historical data, looking at our scores, and looking at where we are.
I'm gonna present it. My apologies, everybody. I will get this, I promise you, in just a second here.
And again, I won't insult you all by reading the presentation to you. I'll just kind of talk about it, and Mr. Chavez and Ms. Romero will help me with this as well. We looked at our data, our New Mexico Vistas data for the years of 2020 through, or 2022 through 2025. Looking at it and looking at, we had high goals, we had lofty goals. Did we accomplish them? Goal number 1 was to foster student excellence and academic achievement.
Oh, this is the wrong presentation. I am really struggling, y'all. My apologies for
It's okay.
interrupting you again.
it's
This
okay.
This is that 3:30 morning to get up for branding. I apologize, everyone. I will get this.
The priorities of goal number one were to have curriculum alignment, high quality instructional materials, professional learning, data-driven instruction, PLC implementation, assessment practices, and instructional coaching. Our overall status in looking at that data, we made strong progress towards that goal. We categorized it as strong progress. Ms. Romero gave us key takeaways and suggestions. So areas where we can improve. Ms. Romero, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just,
Quality and we're working on work-based learning. We're working on graduation initiatives, and we're also expanding our MLSS programming. There are accomplishments there. There are things that we can look forward to. We want to increase our academic growth. Like I said, we had very lofty goals in that strategic plan. We want to expand our intervention supports, our tiers, and we want to strengthen literacy and math outcomes. And we're going to see that now with a quality math curriculum being taught.
And on top of that, if I can add the high dosage tutoring, we did apply to the state of New Mexico's, similar to the near peer. We're waiting to see if we get approved for it. I've worked with the instructional team and we decided to align it with the math adoption and really focus in on our middle school students. And so with the support of HR and Deputy Superintendent.
Numbers, and you'll see math scores and English scores and all of that. So I like I said, it's a lot of data and you probably want to take it home. Goal number 2 was excellence in teaching and leadership. The priorities of that goal were leadership development, professional development, classroom walkthroughs, teacher mentoring, recruitment and retention, and coaching. The status of that one, we did make strong progress towards that one, and our leadership systems became more consistent, while professional learning and instructional support expanded across the district. Our major accomplishments under goal number 2 was included administrator coaching, teacher mentoring, expanded instructional coaching, new teacher supports, increased collaboration, and professional learning opportunities. As you all know, the board has been very involved in the professional development and what we're providing, and so we're thankful for that. You all have voted the last couple of years on the Marzano framework, and we're very glad to be bringing that to our teachers, and that's real professional development in our teachers' classrooms.
may I also add a few things? We also started a teacher mentoring program. So today we had our very first training for our first and second year teachers, just to go over basics around evaluations and the look fors in a classroom. So that happened today. We have also scheduled professional learning community walkthroughs at school sites where we'll do instructional rounds and look at best practices. That went out today. And then we're hoping that our principal meetings turn into principal workshops where we're actually working on things together. So like the New Mexico Dash Plan, that's a requirement by the state. We'll be doing that all together on August 17th. And so we've kind of mapped out some workshops throughout the year for principals so that they have the supports in-house.
Awesome. We do have some goals to look forward to under this category. We want to continue expanding our leadership development. We have 4 of our teaching staff, 4 of our educators that are currently in the CES ALD Leadership Development Program. And we want to keep encouraging our people to be in those programs, to get the the level 3 classifications, the administrator licenses. One thing that we also are looking forward to is we want to improve our staff retention. Mrs. Jones there's a slide in here in a little bit where we talk about that we've hired 68 employees this summer. Part of that is SFE employees that were, we needed cafeteria employees, but we have 68 new folks on staff. And so we want to retain those employees. We want to provide good salaries and good benefits, and we want people to want to work here. And then we want to expand our instructional coaching. We have gone to a different model now than we did in the previous strategic plan. The previous strategic plan, we had instructional coaches at school sites. Now we have an instructional coaching team. We want our administrators to be the instructional leaders at their sites. And so Ms. Romero is going to, and her team are going to implement these workshops where our administrators are sitting with their teachers and looking at data and leading that. So that's goal 2. Goal 3 was student wellness, school climate, and family engagement. We had priorities of increasing attendance, positive school climates, family engagement, student wellness, community partnerships, and special education support. We are not as high in this category. We made progress. We didn't make strong progress. We made progress. The district strengthened supports for students while increasing collaboration with families and community partners. I think as you board members know, we're definitely working on what consultation looks like and what meaningful consultation is, and and are we having community events where father-daughter dances, and are we having literacy nights, and so we definitely have areas where we can improve and expand that. Accomplishments under this goal: we did increase family communication, we expanded student support, we did get special ed compliance, we made improvements with the PED as well as the New Mexico Office of Special Education. We are now offering attendance incentives, initiatives. You all voted on some of those initiatives, for GHS just now. And so we did establish strong mental health resources, social emotional learning, and have been establishing community partnerships. We are expanding that. We have a new member on the instructional team that is really working to make community partnerships. And so that's going to help us with our work-based learning. That's going to help us with our CTE completers. And so if Miss I-Course is watching the board meeting, she's doing a great job, and she's getting out and meeting lots of people to help us with our community partnerships. Looking forward, we do want to improve attendance. Mrs. Ward kind of gave us some depressing numbers a while ago about that our kids aren't learning what they need to because they're not in school. So we do want to provide incentives, and we want to improve attendance. We want to strengthen family engagement. We want to have those literacy nights where parents are coming in. We want to have those events where folks are coming to the school. We want the schools to be the heart of the community. We want to expand our student wellness initiatives as well as restorative practices. Mr. Chavez spoke about that at our July 21st board meeting. Do you want to say anything about expanding that?
I think we've introduced that, and thank you, Superintendent, to our principals and to our staffs. Ms. Barajas has gone out to schools and started working with principals. So she's taken really the lead on that stuff. And we have a lot of principals and school sites very interested, which is great, because we really thought we'd have to sell it. right? We're gonna have to get that because it's a culture shift. And it's something that we provided with our principals and our leadership team with the district. Data, we'll go through that a little later, of discipline, and there's some shocking numbers, but we'd rather be transparent and be real with you guys to show the areas of improvement, and we hope that restorative practices can start to address some of these disciplinary issues. So you'll see that a little later, and we've even talked about some potential changes on whether or not we should even be suspending students K through 2. So again, you'll see that, but it's not to shine a negative light. It's just showing you guys the real numbers.
If you look at the next slide, that talks specifically about some of the community engagement and stakeholder feedback portion of that goal. We are working, as I mentioned, Ms. Icorse, we are working to expand partnerships and CTE programming. We want our kids completing those CTE programs. We want them graduating with certifications. We want them to have scholarships to culinary school or to the police academy or medical school, or some of those well-defined career pathways that generally have a CTSO attached. When we send the HOSA kids to the national conference, those are kids that are going into the medical field, and so we definitely want to keep promoting those programs. We want to expand those programs and offer strong career pathways in every school. Some of the initiatives that we did roll out under the previous strategic plan, we started doing the GCCS budget survey, where we put that out to all of the communities, all of the parents, all stakeholders could complete the survey and say, hey, last year the priority was that the kids wanted good food and they wanted good meals, and that was a lot of the feedback that came from those surveys. But we want to keep doing that survey, and we want to keep utilizing different types of surveys to get feedback from our stakeholders. Ms. Romero consulted with us in the spring before she worked here, and she did some of the survey work with some of our teachers and some of our staff and some of our teams, and our new principals have gone in and they've been doing surveys with their faculty to kind of figure out what the climate is in their school and what they need to do as part of their job. And then community events, we want to expand family nights, community nights at school sites. I have to commend Ms. Griego and Mr. Valdo. They went to the Acoma Back to School event 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And it was really good for them to be engaged with families and to, we talk about FERPA forms and let's get FERPA forms and let's fill those out. Let's talk to families about what those are. And so we definitely want our people at those events and hosting those events and bringing people in. Goal number 4 was organizational effectiveness. How are we doing as a district? How are we running? As you all know, in the last couple of years of my tenure, I kind of ran into, I had consulting going on, and then we realized that I needed to define systems. I needed to look at policies and procedures and really kind of roll some of that out. So when you look at our strategic priorities, we had priorities that included recruitment and retention, fiscal responsibility, and we definitely want to make sure that we're spending our money wisely and correctly and following procurement law. Safety and security throughout the district. We want every school to be a safe place. We want, we've talked about that. We have a school site that needs a PA system, and we have school sites that need radios, and we've got a new phone system, so that way you can reach people, through the new phone system, and that's all part of the safety and security. We want to expand our technology. We live in a very modern world where kids have devices, they have cell phones, they have computers, they have Chromebooks. They don't have internet, but we'll talk about that too. We want modern facilities that are high-tech facilities. We want safe facilities. We want smart board technology. We want, you know, if you're in a CTE class, you need those hands-on experiences. If you're thinking about being a nurse, you need hands-on experiences of what your job entails. So trying to provide those operational efficiency and good communication and customer service. I think that it's important that we reach out to our families and that they know that who to go to if they need something, or if I need help with special education, you know, Mr. Chavez is my guy. If I need digital learning, Dr. Martin's my guy. And you know, and so families have people. We did make strong progress with this goal, but we can do better, and we can continue to do better. Operational systems improved through stronger fiscal management, enhanced safety initiatives, and the modernization of district operations. We continue to keep doing this as a work in progress. We did improve staff recruitment efforts. As we get into Mrs. Jones' slide here in just a minute, you'll see that we are almost fully staffed, and that's exciting. This is the first year that since I've been superintendent that we're at that point. So we have improved staff recruitment efforts. We have increased employee retention. We have improved on district safety enhancements. We have stabilized our budget and are being fiscally responsible and stewarding the budget well. We have improved our procurement procedures as well as our operational procedures. The systems work, the policy, every board meeting, we're talking about policies and we're making sure that we're following the law. And we have made good facility improvements. We opened Mesa View yesterday. Our teachers are moving in. It is a wonderful school, and so we're going to continue to improve facilities around the district as well. Looking forward, we want to continue attracting high quality staff. We want to expand leadership, involvement in the ALD leadership program. We want modernized schools, all of them to be modernized, and we want to strengthen our employee engagement and customer service. Mrs. Jones, do you want to talk about your part?
You bet. So for 2025-2026, total of 521 employees, we lost a total of 44, so 8%, which left us with a 92% retention rate last year. So with those 44 that have left, we've been working very hard to replace them, as Mr. Wagner mentioned, which I think is the next slide. We have hired 68 new employees, so replacing those that left and adding 20 and then a few more since then to the nutrition department, since we are now managing our nutrition employees versus the food service provider managing our employees. So we've had a lot of onboarding happening up here last week, Friday and yesterday and today, and there's been a lot of people in and out of the building, making sure that paperwork is done and that they know what their assignments are and what their marching orders are, so to speak, as they're moving forward in this. So just covering those two slides. The next slide has the staffing and retention, gives you a breakdown of the total new hires and then in which category each of those were hired.
I think I skipped ahead.
Board Member Lorenzo, part of the onboarding too is they get those vector trainings, and there are at least 26 annually that you have to, you're duty bound to do. So
And
I
we
know
go by like New Mexico requirements and cross-reference that to those that are available to make sure that we are hitting the required trainings based on the New Mexico PED and what we have to provide. We've also purchased a larger library so that if we have teachers that are having difficulties in certain areas, we can assign specific training for them to help them get up to speed with whatever they may be struggling.
classroom management. dealing with a difficult student.
So, yeah, and we do with the, we're also moving forward, with all of our volunteers, all of our coaching staff, if they are not employees, all of our subs, like everybody, making sure that anybody that is in our schools is trained on those mentor trainings so that we are being compliant with every person that walks through those doors that has access to our students. So making sure that those procedures are in place so that everybody is trained the same.
So when Ms. Romero gave me this presentation and Mr. Chavez, I told them, I said, the next slide is really, it's kind of a gold mine right here, because this tells us where we were successful in our previous strategic plan. And it kind of gives us suggestions as to where to go with the next strategic plan. And so you look at our four goals: student achievement, teaching and leadership, student wellness, organizational effectiveness. We did make strong progress in 3 of those categories. One of those we only made progress. And we focused a lot on social emotional learning. And, you know, we should have made better progress there, but we didn't. The overall themes, which are celebrations, we increased collaborations, we have stronger instructional systems now. We've improved district operations. We have enhanced accountability district-wide, with our systems and our procedures and our policies. And so we have enhanced accountability, and we have better aligned our district resources, you know, looking at survey data and looking at direction. As we look to build a new strategic plan, the next strategic plan, here are some good suggestions. We definitely want to stay focused on student achievement, because that's our bread and butter. That's what we do, right? Student achievement and growing our kids. So we definitely need some goals for student achievement. We still need goals for staff excellence. We expect parents and families expect great teachers and highly qualified teachers in their classrooms. And so we want to make sure that they're well trained and well prepared and licensed to be in the classrooms. We do want safe and supportive schools. Every parent is sending us the best children they've got, the most important children that they've got, the smartest children that they've got. And so it's our job to make sure that those are safe, supportive schools, and that we're helping those kids, and they're bully-free zones, and that they're, you know, that there is security there, and there is safety systems. And so we want to keep that as part of our strategic plan. We need operational excellence. We have organizational effectiveness, but we need operational excellence. We've got to be excellent and excellent running as a district in the way that we do things. And we've got to expand our community partnerships. We've got to expand opportunities for our kids. If a student wants to be a tribal leader, let's provide them with the coursework about what that means, tribal government, and you know, and you want to go back and be an important part of your community. Let's provide that instruction. If a student wants to go to Yale and they want to go to law school, you know, let's get them there, and let's make sure that we're providing those opportunities so our kids are competitive. Now we're going to get into the data. I'm going to let Mr. Chavez and Ms. Romero kind of step in. I told them I would just do the overview, and then as we got into the data, I would kind of let Ms. Romero take the lead.
Thank you, President Lee, board members, Superintendent Widener. I also want to thank Mr. Chavez for supporting me in this part of the presentation. It is a lot of data, and the handout he provided, there are corrections, and I apologize for ELA for 24-25 school year. So when we get to those slides, we'll reference the handout that Mr. Chavez provided. But looking at the district data snapshot, it's 3 buckets. We're looking at academic achievement in math and ELA and graduation rates. Mr. Chavez will be going over student discipline data along with attendance. And then we're just gonna give a context and comparison to districts that are similar in either enrollment or demographics to kind of see where we stand. Slide. This is a 3-year comparison of our students here in grants. I know you as a board wanted to look at subgroups, so the subgroups that we highlighted were, of course, all students, and this is based on NMVista data. It's our state assessment grades 3 through 8. So the percentage of proficiency for all of our students, our Native American students, our English language learners, students with disabilities and economically disadvantaged, and this is for mathematics. Just some key celebrations in looking at the data. Our students with disabilities, we've increased from tons of growth from 4.7% to 7%. And economically disadvantaged, like slow progress, but there are many opportunities for growth in our data. Our overall proficiency went down by a couple percentage points in 23-24. Our native students have kind of remained steady. Our supports for English language learners has decreased a little bit. And once again, our students with disabilities has remained kind of stagnant, and we're hoping that with our district priorities in instruction and access to grade level standards and ensuring that we have strong interventions in the classroom, and continue our, I know you're familiar and we brought it up the last board meeting, our SIOP training for English language development, sheltering, and ensuring teachers are utilizing those strategies in the class to reach all learners.
If I could just add something, when you go to the NMVista's website, when you look at 24-25 or any school year, it's always a year behind. So if it's 24-25 on the website, it's actually 23-24 data. They just post it in the current school year. So even graduation rates, if you look at it, it'll say 25-26, it's actually for 24-25. So the data you see on that website's always a year behind.
So this is,
And we will see an improvement here in mathematics because now we have consistent curriculum and we have strong, we have consistency across the schools, and we have not had a strong math curriculum in years. So we anticipate this will improve as well.
I have a question in regards to the curriculum. So the decrease that looks like happened across the board from 22-23 to 23-24. Is that when there was a curriculum, the different curriculum?
So
I don't think so. I think ELA, and this is for the entire state, it's every like 7-year, 6-year cycle of changing a curriculum. So this for mathematics has probably been the same curriculum over the 3 years. And this is our first year for our math adoption, so.
yeah,
This
so
is probably
we
what
haven't
they
seen
were
an
using.
improvement yet because of the math adoption. When you look at 23-24, and we went to all students at 18%, that probably was our district learning plans, probably our standards teaching. It's interesting, we had one school that was using Saxon Math, we had one school that was using Eureka Math, and I mean, we just had a lot of different curriculums going on. And so now we chose the strongest curriculum with interventions, and it should help with all of our subgroups. If I can add, and I know Ms. Romero's
more knowledgeable than I am. Curriculum is not gonna solve the problem. Even though it's called high quality instructional materials, it's the quality of instruction in the classroom and the supports given to the teachers and the students that will drive and change outcomes. So I know we've talked about this often. Curriculum should be supplemental to the classroom. It should be based off of state standards and also providing the supports for high quality instruction.
Absolutely right. I think our goal is to really go into classrooms, look at instruction, see not just classroom management, but what strategies are they utilizing for engagement? I know when we did some of this work in Santa Fe with looking at priority standards, it was a big aha moment because teachers didn't really understand their standards. So just ensuring that people feel comfortable teaching to the standards and providing feedback to students. I think doing these walkthroughs with principals and eventually with teachers, I think will highlight like a lot of great things we're doing and maybe some things that we can focus on as far as instruction.
And when you talk, Saturday, you guys will really delve into SMART goals and what a SMART goal is and you know, it's a few percentage points, right? It's a few percentage points of an increase. So when you look at our kids, we're at 18% in math, you know, probably a SMART goal would be, let's shoot a goal for 22%. Let's get everybody to 22%. And then when you look at English language arts, let's get everybody to 39%, you know, and so we don't want to jump too high, but we do want realistic goals that we can attain.
So moving on to the next slide for English language arts, and this is where I'm going to ask that you refer to the handout. I apologize, the data is updated for 24-25 and it's pretty significant in some subgroup areas. So if you look at your first page on your handout, the slide up that's presented is not correct for 24-25. All students in ELA is 38%. And so you did have I think your goal, your target was 40%.
Pretty
You
close.
guys can basically meet that goal. So that's significant. Our Native American students jumped to 29.9% in English language arts or reading. Our English learners have gone from 21.8% in 23-24 to 19.4%. Students with disabilities, there was a decrease, so that's also an opportunity for growth. And what resources, curriculum are we utilizing in our resource rooms, or how is co-teaching happening? Because I know we have inclusion, so looking at that. And then this is a pretty significant jump for our economically disadvantaged students. In 23-24, it was 25% and it jumped to 30%. So overall, the key celebrations are we continue to make progress, even though looking at our English language arts curriculum, we'll see what's working best, because I know that there's and I do want to say our state has trained all of our primary grades in letters training, which is a requirement by the state, and that's all foundational skills like phonemic awareness, decoding, fluency. So our elementary teachers in K-3, I think you're maybe in grade 4 now, are really like creating those foundational skills so that they can read to learn, right? For building foundations in primary, but read to learn.
If I could just add something. If you look at the student groups, I do want to point out that 38% is great because it includes all students. When you look at the student groups, right below that, the numbers are smaller. So that variable will change, right? It could be two, 5, 10 kids that make a big difference. And that's also like graduation rates at early college. When you have a small end size and you graduate more students, you're going to see a greater percentage of graduation rate. So great numbers, good numbers, bad numbers, but just remember it fluctuates depending on the end size.
So moving on to your next handout, second page. because those adjustments were made in, oh, it's mathematics, I apologize. So slide, I don't have my slides number for that. 20, we're looking at district proficiency comparisons in math. And so we looked at, of course, Gallup, because it's close, their demographics are similar. Central Consolidated, Espanola and Bloomfield, just once again, based on enrollment and demographics. And so some of those key, I'll give you a second to look at the data. And then at the right, we have New Mexico average.
When you're comparing us with other districts, other than Bloomfield, for the most part, we're outperforming the districts. And again, it wasn't handpicking districts, it was looking at enrollment numbers, we're looking at demographics. So it really shows that we're moving in the right direction, still have growth, but we're starting to make some progress.
And just looking at mathematics, what like Mr. Chavez said, Grants ranks second to Bloomsfield. We're outperforming Gallup McKinley and Central Consolidated and Espanola in overall math. Our English learners perform above Gallup McKinley, Central and Espanola and the state average. And our economically disadvantaged students outperform Gallup, Central Consolidated and Espanola. So those are key celebrations. But opportunity for growth, overall the state is low. So we need to increase our overall math proficiency, strengthen mathematics instruction for our native students and students with disabilities, and then continue implementing our district priorities, curriculum instruction, professional learning communities, and then ensuring that teachers have the professional development with our new math adoption. Now you can go to the second page of your handout because we made adjustments in ELA. Once again, it has Grants, Gallup, Central, Consolidated, Espanola, Bloomfield. And once again, we're second behind Bloomfield in our ranking. Native American student proficiency has increased to 29.9%, which matches the state of New Mexico average, and it exceeds Gallup, our neighboring district. Our English language learners continue to outperform Gallup, Central Consolidated and Espanola, and our economically disadvantaged students increased to 31.5, which is a huge substantial improvement. That places us again second among comparing to Bloomsfield. What opportunities for growth are overall ELA proficiency. Maybe look at Bloomsfield and see what type of instructional practices they have. I don't know how far Bloomsfield is, but maybe look at a similar district and go visit, see what they're utilizing. And then once again, continuing to emphasize our instructional priorities.
Graduation data, I know I presented on it in February or March, school year. So these are just those snapshots again. As you can see, 3-year average, and it's really because this is the data that's on the state website. So it's open to the public. It's not something that you would have to request through the district to take a look at. We look at Gallup, Grants, 21, 22. Remember, these are always a year behind. We were at 73%. We dipped to 70%, 70.5%. And then again, right about that same number this past year. So we presented the data. Now I'm going to confuse myself. We presented the data this past year for the 24-25 graduates. And at that point, we increased by 9.5 percentage points. And this was the first time we reached that 80% marker for graduation rates. If you look to the bottom right of that slide, you'll see the gains over the last 4 years for Grants, Laguna Acoma, and early college. you'll see that grants over the last 4 years, this is the highest graduation rate that they've received. Again, Laguna Acoma High School, I think will eventually get to 90+%. And of course, the variables are gonna really swing the percentage points at early college, so it all depends on it. You'll see 0.1s, 0.2s, 0.3s, because if you remember, it's by their snapshots. So it's 4 snapshots per every year. 4 years times 4, you have 16 snapshots. So if they don't finish with us and they finish elsewhere, we get the credit for the years they spent with us. Again, we increased on the key celebrations by 9.5%. Again, we'll continue to close the gap on the state of New Mexico. We're not far behind it. We're just gonna ensure that those internal systems are accurate. So when we're reporting our data, we're making sure that it's clean, it's verified, validated, and resubmitted. Opportunities for growth, again, we wanna sustain maybe that 80% mark. 80% mark, expand key support systems, credit recovery, attendance, as we heard early, support with tutoring, academic support, the instructional alignment could help as well. And then we've talked about strengthening secondary pathways. Again, I think those are all celebrations and things to look forward to. Next slide. It's kind of small on mine because I put 2 slides on one, so I may have to look if I get asked questions. This is what I meant by being very transparent with our discipline. The next few slides show discipline. It shows by ethnic code according to the state of New Mexico, and it shows the infraction. If you take a look at it, you'll see the gender is broken out, male, female, and grand total. So this is exactly what anyone would see at the state level. Key observations as you start to look at it. We want to make sure that we're being fair and consistent, that we're providing, and Mrs. Amanda mentioned earlier, that we're uniform across all sites. So if you're gonna receive the same infraction at site A, it'll be at site B, because what we did start seeing is students jumping from one school to another depending on how discipline was handled. So we want to make it fair and consistent. In school and out of school suspensions, that was the majority of the records within the system. Next slide. This is what I kind of alluded to earlier. Some districts have adopted a policy that they would not suspend out of school students K through 2. That might be something you want to consider and take a look at, because it was alarming when I started looking at suspension rates, especially out of school suspensions for the lower elementary grade levels. I know I had parents, grandparents calling me all of last year asking why we suspend students. They're still learning, and we want to make sure they're in school, they're in attendance, they're learning. And this is where our restorative practices can come in at the lower grade levels and really start supporting those elementary ed students. As you can see, we started to see an upward trend from kindergarten through 6th grade, peaking at about 105 suspension in grade 6. On the secondary part, discipline peaked at the middle school, and it's difficult. That's where I started my teaching career, was middle school. You have some students that are maturing faster than others, going through puberty sooner than others. You may have a 6-foot student and a 4'5" student. So it's a very tricky age group and grade level to really get to understand their body, their features, rules, and expectations. But we're seeing at the high school level, it starts to decline. Any questions on discipline?
What do they do with those second graders? I mean, how do they continue with their education and how long are they gone?
Yeah, it all varies. Some suspensions have been for 1 day, some suspensions have been 3 to 5 days. It all depends on the infraction as well. Also, the code of conduct for students is now uniformed, and we looked at districts across the state on what they have in policies and kind of implemented some of those practices. So again, it's really about being fair and consistent. And again, maybe a suggestion for a future study session is looking at a policy about suspending kids K through 2. I don't know I know they recommend it's not a best practice. And that may be something that we want to look at as a
What is the guardian thoughts on that, or what what is the home like? Is it?
Every
Yeah,
back,
I'm just- I
every
mean, I'm not
background's
be
different.
specifically-
Yeah,
they
every
might be
background's
different,
different and, you know,
but
every
would we
home
be
life. is
sending back to a
different.
worse place, you know, that'd be go back to,
Well,
what
that's-
Donna did and, what did they talk about, CYFD, you know, are we sending them back to a worse place than keeping them in class?
And they're still learning, right? They're still learning the rules. They're still trying to figure things out. Some of these students haven't been in school. And so it's adapting and becoming accustomed to expectations. And so I do get a lot of parent complaints about, even from grandparents or guardians, why are we suspending kids? You know, my son, my grandson, my daughter, my great granddaughter didn't know better. We're still trying to help, you know, our daughter who's the parent of that student, that young student. So I hear a lot from individuals, from guardians about this topic specifically, especially K through 2.
Thank you.
I also think that inherently there's, right, some ethnic and racial profiling. I mean, the disproportionality is pretty significant.
yeah.
So I'm wondering, too, as part of that, and you talked about the training, 2 weeks ago when we had met, that students will be getting, also, like, does that training include like, issues on like systemic racism that exists, because it exists everywhere, not just in schools.
Correct.
And so, I think bringing awareness to that could probably help address some of the disproportionality, because then I also think that, I mean, it would be interesting, and I don't know, like, if this is something that is, possible in terms of the number of days. Like how long students, when they get suspended, how many days they are actually out of school, cause I think that relates to, disparities.
Yeah, I agree. And providing support such as social work, counseling services can go a long way. You know, providing training to not only our administrators, but our staff, because the easy out is misbehaving, let's suspend them, get them out of the class, get them out of the school. And so we need to kind of break that mentality and make sure that they can reach out to access supports. And so that's where we're trying to build that support network. Ms. Barajas is doing a great job of getting in there and starting to educate some of the principals and even the teachers. But it's gonna take some time, and that's why we did identify, if you remember, when we talked about restorative practices, K through 2, K through 3, because that's exactly what we saw when we started to review the discipline, is let's start to identify some of those grade levels where we can provide support, keep them in school and ensure that they're learning and they're safe. Because a lot of times, to your point, you send them into a suspension and they may not be safe at home. They also eat at school. They get to socialize at school with their peers. So again, we're looking at it as an entire system and see what we can do to support. Attendance. Again, I think this is a big initiative and maybe a topic that you guys discuss over the weekend, but it is not only a district issue, it's a statewide issue. We've declined in attendance. And again, I want it to be very transparent with the information that we're presenting tonight. We've gone from 69, 70% down to 52.5%. New Mexico, on the other end, is increasing. So you see a big difference. I think this, I gave you 5 years. You see 21, 22, we had over 3,300 students. And this past year, we were just above 2,900 students. You can see that we lost a lot of students in school year 24, 25 for 262 students. We did gain some back last year, and we'll see after the first 10 days of school this year what it looks like. Again, it's a trend that we're seeing across the district. To even see an increase is great. I think every district across the state is really seeing a decrease in attendance. And so that's just kind of an overarching picture. So it looks like it's stabilizing. We'll get a better idea after the first 10 days. The next slide, I broke it down over the last 5 years for every school that we have. Kind of gave a trend. If it was stable, slight decline, growth, rebounding,
moderate decline or a decline. So you can kind of see over the last 5 years what it looks like. I think it is kind of stabilizing at some of the schools the superintendent mentioned, and it's also growing elsewhere. So with Laguna Acoma Middle School, High School, I combined the two numbers. It's the same building, I just combined the two numbers rather than breaking them out separately. Usually, what I saw when I was looking at the numbers, the high school's right around 190-ish, and you'll have about 30 or so middle schoolers. Mesa View, again, as the superintendent mentioned this morning, might see a bump with the new school. The ones that we're seeing a decline, steady decline really is Cebolleta and San Rafael. So those are schools that look like they're declining. And again, I think as we start to move into incentives, you could see students re-recruited back to the district, hopefully. So I kind of mentioned with the celebrations, early college is continuing to grow, and Dr. Martin mentioned that you got another student today. Laguna Acoma Middle School, High School has remained stable. Grants High has regained students. Over there are opportunities to improve. Again, we need to recruit, we need to be stable, strengthen kindergarten and preschool enrollment pipelines. That's gonna build your enrollment. When you can start them early, you'll be able to see an increase of student enrollment. Something else, increased marketing. We're doing a great job at early college. Really market that, CTE, extracurriculars, athletics, special programs. So, you know, helping ourselves by advertising. I think we can do a better job. So we're informing the community. It needs being offered that could make early college unique in that aspect.
We have had athletes at the early college high school though.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying that a lot of people come and ask, well, you know, my kid wants to play soccer. Well, they still can play soccer, but you know, it's one of those kind of tricky things. And
Participate in athletics and activities
Right,
based on their address.
so I wanted to bring that up because it's, you know, when we're talking dual credit as well, which, you know, we just talked about at the last meeting too, having all of these opportunities, we're one district. And if we can bolster
Not only that, but
getting the
there's
kids
also
everywhere.
And let's look at this data and see kind of what ideas you can come up with. I don't know Friday night, the consultants, they're gonna do the training with you probably about what SMART goals are and that kind of stuff, but I will I will say that this can kind of help guide our work a little bit. And so that's why I really wanted to have this presentation for you tonight. I know Board Member Lorenzo has been asking me, hey, let's talk about the previous strategic plan. And we missed the mark. We missed the mark. We did make progress. We did make growth. But we had very lofty goals. You know, if I think our math goal was 36%, 38%, and we didn't get anywhere near there, but we did make progress, right? So so that would be my challenge to you. And I think if you guys don't have any other questions for Mr. Chavez or Ms. Romero, we can kind of talk about our strategic plan if you guys want to.
Going back to the disposition summary by ethnic code, on the description, what are when it says sent to alternate setting based on hearing, what does that mean? Like, what are the alternate settings?
That could be expulsion, could be long-term suspension as in 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. We did do a lot of work this past year on what it takes to take a student to a hearing. That's one of the departments that I oversee as well. So we've kind of revamped what the hearing packet looks like. Principals call me first before they schedule a hearing, before they go to Ms. Shanda to schedule a hearing, so I can review the packet. That was something we discussed with the principals, because there are times that my principal's recommending a hearing for suspension, long-term or expulsion. And I go into our student information system and I'm not seeing anything documented. I'm not seeing any disciplinary referrals. I'm not seeing any progressive discipline. I'm not seeing any interventions. So what I do in turn is say this student is not eligible to go to a hearing and we must have a behavior intervention plan, FBA as well, or maybe revise the IEP if it's a special ed student. And what interventions have we tried with all students? So we've taken a more active approach as far as reviewing hearings, and they have declined from first semester to second semester. I think, if I remember correctly, we only had maybe 4 hearings second semester of last year. So it's an area that we still need to improve. But I think with the support from leadership and also our principals understanding what infractions, there's only 4 major infractions that the state allows for expulsion. And so we made sure our principals were aware of those.
And I've kind of been guiding that I don't ever want to expel a student. I don't want to lose a
The same page with each other, say, well, why is that school doing this and that? As long as they're meeting together, then they meet, they come up with the ideas. I just like the way you're going with that, with the next steps. With the teacher mentoring and the expanding the instructional coaching, all that makes a big difference. And we're bringing all the schools together, whatever's happening in Laguna is happening at early college, somewhat, like I said, I don't think they're getting, like she was saying about sports and music, we need to try and get them to all have that, but there's sometimes we just can't. But we have to have a way to get them to have music or to have football or drama or FFA or whatever. I don't know if we're having FFA, but I just like the idea that you're bringing all the principals together all the time. And I think that makes a big difference, because I know just in the 2 years that I was here, I would hear, well, why is the high school doing this? And why are they doing that in Blue Water Village? And why are they doing that in Mesa View? And they don't do that here. And I just like where you guys are going with this, just from what I'm hearing. It sounds like you're meshing all the schools together and you're working with all of them, and the curriculum is all across the board. Like you're saying, one school is teaching this math curriculum, this school was teaching English here, they're all doing different stuff. And I like where we're going with what I'm hearing. And like you said, especially the disciplinary, I had a godson that probably if he would have got expelled or suspended, he would have graduated, but he graduated this year. That was a good thing to our family, is to see him graduate, because he was selling pot and doing this and that, and it's not a good thing to be doing that in school, but he got a chance, and they were able to give him a chance, and he got a break and he graduated.
Thank you. Anything else?
I just have another question for clarification. On the enrollment data and then, the declines that are moving out of district.
No, I'm saying, we don't know why there's declining enrollment. But we're saying we need to recruit to increase enrollment. So we need to, not saying that they're leaving the district, but we need to market, advertise. We need to really start to celebrate, tell our own story, because if we don't tell our own story, somebody's going to tell it for us and it may not be accurate. So we need to kind of celebrate so we can recruit people back to the district from wherever, because they do. Yeah, exactly.
I
And we
think
do
a lot of, when you look at 23, was 22, 23, like I was at Grants High School then. We lost a lot of kids, and they wanted to go online because kids still weren't feeling at ease after COVID. They got used to the online stuff. There was a couple of statewide online schools. There was one in our neighboring district where kids could go, they could do their class, they could do their classes from 6 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night. And so the online was very attractive to, and so at Grants High School, I lost kids and that year. And so I think a lot of kids, and so Dr. Martin and Ms. Barajas, and they're working to make sure that we have online options so we can bring those kids back, because those kids are still here in the community. They're still, mom's still still works at Walmart and the kids are still here in the community. But so let's bring them back to our schools.
And if you see some of the commercials, there's online schools advertising, right? Come to us. Because it's just like a public school, they'll receive the unit value that, so they have their own SEG. So they're pushing hard to recruit online students. And so it's no longer just, you know, the schools in your jurisdiction. Now you're competing with outside entities that can come and actually pluck students away and put them in remote learning.
So the decline like at Seguridad and San Rafael, are they going to district schools?
So those decline, and we kind of looked at birth rates in the communities. Those communities are starting to get a little older. And there's not a lot of movement into the community, so the birth rates are going down, specifically in those two areas. So you're seeing declining enrollment because there's just no young kids there, or there's no younger adults moving back into those two areas and kind of repopulating the areas. So when you're looking at specific areas, especially the smaller, older communities, you're not seeing birth rates even at the average rate.
Especially with like the land grants, because you know, grandma owns land and she's gonna leave it to her children, but her children moved to Texas to go get their degrees and they're living in Texas. And so grandma's grandkids aren't coming back to live on the land grant piece. So
Yeah, what about Milan and Mount Table? Are they going to different schools?
Yeah, well, and that's where we need to be consistent because you are seeing students jump from one school to the other for whatever reason. It could be, I think it's all interconnected, to be quite honest. Discipline, instruction, not being consistent with practices. So you are seeing students, even students that fall under some of my departments are moving because they like the way Principal A handles their kid versus Principal B. So you're seeing movement. They're not really leaving the district, but they're shifting schools. So that's why you see some shifts in enrollments. I'm sure this year Mesa View will see a bump. It's a new school. You have new leadership there. So you're going to probably see declining enrollment at a few other schools and a bump at Mesa View.
a lot of the trend too is administrator turnover. If like one of the elementary schools had a different administrator every year for 5 years, and they kind of lost a lot of kids because of that. And so now that's definitely part of our goal. We want to retain our administrators. We want to have strong administrators that stay with us and make their career in Cibola County.
And one of the things that contributes to these trends, and I know Ms. Romero's team has started to see it, you know, from their end as they're a new team. School climate and school culture really drives enrollment, but it also drives student outcomes. You have good climate and good school culture, you're gonna see higher attendance rates, you're gonna see better outcomes. So I know they're starting to identify those trends and really what best practices can be duplicated or replicated across the district.
That's when you're meeting all of them together, your principals. When I was in school, there, we had to go to a certain school. I had to go to Cerro Vista. There were districts, you know, I don't know what they went to, just going wherever you wanted. As long as they stay in our district.
We'll talk about that in a little bit in executive. Let me my book. I'm gonna move on.
Perfect.
You guys are ready.
Strategic plan.
So Friday night, we will have our training with Dynamic Learning Solutions. And you all will get 2 hours of board training through NMSBA. And so that is coming up. Part of tonight's discussion and why I felt we really needed a work session, according to Dynamic Learning Solutions, we were supposed to make our selections, our committee selections. Thank you all for doing that, for letting me know who you selected. I have confirmed with folks that you all suggested. Your community members, I believe, are all on board. They, your employees are all on board. I do need one employee. I do need one employee, and I have a backup for you. But we can, yeah, we can talk about that, but I do have a spreadsheet in there that Chanda's been really good about helping me keep it updated, and we're gonna reach out with, Chanda and I have a Zoom conversation with Bonnie and Ann Lynn tomorrow. And we're gonna kind of give them our folks, and then I think they're gonna kind of send them like a welcome packet. Hey, this is what Saturday looks like, and Chanda's gonna work to make sure that we have food and coffee and all of that for Saturday's gonna be a long day. But I think we're on track, and Miss Lorenzo and I will get together and come up with a plan for her person.
Well, I had trouble with mine.
Some of them I had to call like
25 people for
Man.
Walter. No, not really.
He Mr. Jaramillo nominated 6 people, and people they do things on Saturdays, and employees especially, they're like, no, that's the weekend before school, or I'm going to a
We
wedding,
love the
or,
employees.
so,
I think it was challenging because nobody lives in my district for.
right, right. Well, and you truly want representation, so, and a lot of those folks go work in our neighbor district schools, so yeah, but we can talk about that. And so I think we're on track. Friday night, we're gonna start at 3 o'clock, Friday afternoon, we're gonna start at 3 o'clock. It's 2 hours, we're done at 5 o'clock on Friday. Dr. Martin is making me join his students at 4:30 in the morning, Dr. Martin?
Sunrise.
30 at the Bluffs.
5:30 at the Bluffs. I have a 20-minute drive to the Bluffs.
See your sunrise.
And so I might be really tired when we get into training Friday night. And then Saturday morning,
Not branding and getting up at 3:30 in the morning tired, I bet.
right, no. So, and then Saturday morning, we're gonna rock the strategic plan. You guys are gonna do your homework and look at this data, and feel free to call Miss Romero or Mr. Chavez if you have questions. And reach out. And then that kind of takes us through the strategic plan. We're part of their recommendation was that we discuss that, and I don't think we have any conflicts. I know Mr. Jaramillo at one point, he was asking me, and I said, pick somebody from the high school level. And so you know, it was kind of, we worked hard on that, so. Our last presentation is Mr. Chavez. He has been working really hard. I put him in charge of our legislative committee and our legislative subcommittee and planning kind of our asks of our legislators. I know board member Lorenzo, board member Jaramillo are going to be on our legislative action committee, and I sent out a survey to you all, a Google form, trying to, you know, what kind of things are you interested in? Mr. Chavez has been kind of gathering that data and working with that data, and what do we need? And so, Mr. Chavez.
Yeah.
I will let you present your presentation.
So appreciate it, and good evening once again, Madam President, members of the board, superintendent. If you go to the second slide, it's really the core purpose of this subcommittee, kind of identify.
Have a slide. I am really failing you tonight. My absolute apologies. Oh,
Is it not in there?
let me see.
Should be.
It's there. No, it's,
Shanda.
It is the sleep deprivation and heat exhaustion of my day.
He said, no, he said, yeah.
So-
He said, yes. He said, yeah.
Apologies.
Sharon said no.
It's in that.
It's in the drive.
It's not in the packet though. In the binder.
It's not in the packet, but
I'll give you guys copies.
I'll share the screen. Mr. Chavez, while we're getting this loaded, which I got it done, timing couldn't be better for this because we just got an email from Mr. Guillen reminding us to be working on our legislative priorities. So this is quite fortuitous that
absolutely.
you're doing this tonight.
So we'll get you copies, but if you can see the screen, and I know we have two board members already on the committee. We're looking forward to working with you. Number one, just start to identify district priorities. Number two, relationships. I think relationships is key. That's gonna be where we start to form those bonds and friendships, so we can go and ask for assistance and help. But again, wanna make sure we're doing our work ahead of time. You know, I would feel guilty by asking somebody if we didn't put that groundwork in place. We wanna always advocate for our staff and students, and then, of course, future funding. And Mr. Jones isn't in here, but just so you're aware, there is potential for reduction in the unit value come January, so that could be a legislative item that we discuss in that subcommittee. Next slide. I kind of went down and if I go too deep into the weeds, I apologize, but I thought it was good that we kind of all start from the ground floor. What state level allocations look like, you know, and what does the strategic advantage that we have here in our district. So we want to, with the work group, present clear unified funding priorities, maximize diverse legislative opportunities, strengthen and trust relationships with our lawmakers, and advocate proactively. I think when we're in front of our legislative group, if we can do it as a unified group of individuals, and I've talked to the union as well to be part of that advocacy group, I think it sends a strong message that we're unified as a whole. And this gives the board the opportunity to really advocate for the district on behalf of staff and students. I think it sends a great message when we can do that together. Next slide is just understanding what's called the legislative pork, and it all varies. There's not a specific amount. Representatives and senators get different amounts as well. So it's good to make those relationships, and when you can really start to advocate appropriately and build those relationships, it's a lot easier to make those asks. So commonly funded projects, as you can see, through some of these PORC projects, school and technology improvements, public safety, public buildings, roads, parks. This is just an overview, not so much specific to our school district. And then again, we want to make sure that we're asking because it's a priority of ours. We want, and I know I've seen some of the surveys and some of the results, but also listen to staff, students. We've talked about it in leadership, what some of those priorities could be. Next slide. We want to make sure, and I'm glad Mr. Atencio's in here, well-planned projects give accurate estimates. And I'll go why we want to be accurate, because it does impact our budget at times. Demonstrate community need or school need, projects that can begin quickly. And that's key when we're asking, because you know they are elected officials. There's an election cycle, so if they can show their voters and their constituents that they're improving, and it's something that they can physically show in advertisements, then it really helps them and it helps us. Want to make sure they're shovel ready. We want to make sure the estimated costs, engineering are accurate, breakdowns of educational benefits, and then clear alignment within the funding that we're going to be asking for. The next slide talks about how all funding doesn't work the same, what capital outlay is, what operational funding is. special appropriations, and then capital requests. Next slide, please. Really want to know what allocations look like. Receiving appropriations does not always mean the entire project is funded. I'll go through an example. That's why we need to have cost estimates that are accurate. We know that legislators have all constituents, right? Not just the schools. So whatever funding they have available isn't just directed to schools, it's to other constituents as well. It could be city, it could be community needs. So again, we want to be very cognizant of cost. And I'll go through an example of why that's so important. Kind of gave a breakdown of what House Bill 2 is. That is something that we'll monitor as a subcommittee. We'll read through once it's published, and at times, most of the time that I can remember, House Bill 2 is approved before the session ends, and there's still legislation, there's still debates going on. So House Bill 2 is important because that's the source that you read for all the funding. You will be listed in it. That is really the budget for the state of New Mexico listed in House Bill 2. We have somebody that chairs the Senate Finance Committee that is actually one of our legislators, so that's very important. The next slide, I kind of talked about House Bill 2, what the state budget, what those mechanisms are, and then again, what capital outlay and the transparency of it means. And again, want to make sure everything is transparent, it's public, it's there for the viewing. We can actually go backwards on the legislative site to see what's been allocated to the state of New Mexico. That's something we may do with our subcommittee, see what the asks were, see what the allocations were. And again, it gives you a trend of where legislators like to give some of their funding to, and it could be city projects or school projects. So we'll go backwards and start to dive deep into what allocations we've received as a district. Next slide, and this is where I kind of gave an example of if we had a safety project, the estimated cost was $600,000. We received an allocation of $450,000 from our legislators. We are responsible for the balance of $150,000. Whenever we're making this ask, it is very unlikely that we receive the entire amount. So we have to be cautious when we're making these asks. They will like to split it up. If you ask for 10 items, you may receive 10 allocations at $10,000 a piece, and you are required to cover the remaining balance. So we want to make sure that we understand our asks, not to go too many, too large. We need to really get the ball rolling, kind of like a snowball. Start it small and start to build up into larger asks. So that is required by law that the district is responsible to for the remaining funding of that project. Questions to consider on that slide. Again, with Mr. Jones, can the district absorb the remaining costs? Is there grant funding available to offset the balance? Can projects be phased? And that is another way to ask. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Are other funding sources available? So Mr. Jones will be very important to our subcommittee as well. Again, something that we changed in Santa Fe, we did ask for specific line items. It could have been a generator for a school in case the power went out, which is very, very costly. If we received $400,000 for that generator, we may be responsible for the other $400,000. So we took a new approach. We created buckets. And so it could be school safety. And within those buckets, you list multiple items. If you receive $100,000 for school safety, then you can look at that bucket and see where that $100,000 fits rather than going into your own pocket to come up with the balance. So coming up with that, with buckets, with that subcommittee is going to be important. And that's where you kind of aren't too specific, but you're giving enough information where those projects can be completed. So that was a way for us to complete projects without having to touch our cash balance or our operational budget. We had some preliminary leadership ideas from our leadership team. You can see capital and facility improvements, some of them listed. PA system at Blue Water Elementary. The Wiring's there. We just need some funding. I think it was about $80,000 to complete that project. Campus security fencing, parking lot repairs. We've talked about artificial turf at Mesa View Elementary, the new one. CTE skill simulators, professional development center, and multi-use facility, not only for our teachers and our students, but also for the community. CTEC facility and other capital infrastructure improvements. Some other security tech and policy priorities, district security, radio upgrades, communication enhancements, and we've been working closely with law enforcement to try to figure out frequencies and radio usage so we can contact them a lot quicker. Digital access, Chromebooks. We need Chromebooks for our students. They go through them pretty quickly. We are rolling out insurance policies for our students and families if they need to get theirs repaired, but Chromebooks is a big ask. Workforce policy. I talked to the union about this, eliminate the return to work cap. And what that means is no matter, the minimum is 90 days and Deputy Superintendent, correct me if I'm wrong in anything I say. Minimum is 90 days you sit out. You can sit out a year, 2 years, but your cap to work or return to work is 5. So when you have teacher shortages across the district, across the state, removing that cap and letting individuals return to work for as many years as they want, I think could be something that, I know the New Mexico School Boards Association is always on top of that one as well. But the return to work cap could be something that we discuss as well. Now, the one thing that you may hear during the session, because it's always the answer to this policy, is the solvency of the retiree fund through ERB. They said, we're concerned about that. They never discussed that individuals that return to work contribute up to $10,000 into the ERB fund, and they cannot change their pension. So you have return to work employees contributing to ERB and the solvency of the retirement fund without being able to change the retirement. So there is funding, there's a positive with return to work employees because they're contributing to that retirement fund without able to change. That part's never discussed. It's just, the solvency of that retirement fund.
Are they pulling it already?
Yes, yeah,
so-
double dipping.
So let's say a teacher retired 5 years ago, a level 3 teacher, their average salary was 60,000, right? And so they retired, they get a portion of that 60,000 with the average of the high 5 years, right? And so then they come back to work, and now a level 3 teacher is making 80,000, right? They're 78,000, I think is what a level 3 teacher makes. They come back, they're making the 78,000, they're still getting their retirement on the 60,000, but now they're paying into retirement at that 78,000 too. So that's kind of what Mr. Chavez is saying, is they're contributing at a higher rate than probably where they retired.
But they won't be able to pull it though.
No,
They can't change it.
no, their retirement will always be based on the 60,000.
And that's like the state police and all that too, that they're having prisoners where they go from the prison to the road department.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. Supporting our legislators, and again, we can do that as a subgroup and then again as a whole district. What can we provide? Educational impact statements, depending on the bills and legislation that's up to be heard. Fiscal information, enrollment data, student outcome data. They love visiting schools, and that's something we should always do, is make sure that they're visiting our schools. Briefing materials, and then research regarding educational bills. A lot of times their expertise may be in a different field, so being able to provide them information on educational bills is very important to them. So again, you can always be there to support legislation. You can be there at committee hearings, and then again, providing any information to our legislators. We want to become trusted resource for our local legislators.
I have a question in regards to the data, just in my previous role, during committee meetings or anything like that, like legislative tax, like, what is this? Like, is there somebody in the district that can, like, if they're texting, right, like, that he can respond, like, within minutes, what they're asking for?
And you're absolutely correct. We used to do that often. They would be, and you watch them, the committee
Yeah.
hearings on
And you
TV.
can see them,
And you can
right?
see them
You can hear
texting.
the phones going.
Yeah, and so they're asking questions because they may not know or they wanna ask a question, so we used to send them a couple questions and let them choose from a list, but also provide them information such as data, what does enrollment look like, attendance, so in that committee, maybe we set up a bit of a phone tree, we can all share it, but that is a very important. Yeah. Yeah, and so that's a great point, cause it did used to happen.
Well, and interestingly too, Mr. Chavez and I both did a tenure at the New Mexico Public Education Department. And a lot of the bills, they run them through the PED. How does this impact schools? How did, and so it's always important probably that we work with PED too.
So, yeah, good point. Again, and you just hit on it, committee monitoring, making sure we're watching, we're monitoring. They're all broadcast online, so it's just following it. We'll make sure we develop a tool. I think New Mexico School Boards Association, I saw that email, may have a tool, but we wanna create a tool. If we don't, it could be a Excel spreadsheet where we're monitoring, marking off red bills that died or those that are going through. So we wanna make sure that we're doing that. To your point, district admin can provide summaries, impacts, operational impacts, recommend positions, submit questions, and just provide information so they can be educated when they're providing a response or asking questions. Proposed timeline. This was something that I had 2 copies. Proposed timeline, August, start to organize our committee. In September, starting to review facility and project needs. October, prioritize legislative requests. November, finalize our packet. We want to provide them a packet at that meeting, at that breakfast or lunch. And then December, meet with legislators. February, the session begins. We continue to follow up, we continue to advocate, and then we start to review outcomes. This is just tentative. As we get into our committee, we can start to massage this timeline a little bit and put more talking points on there.
And Mr. Chavez, on that, again, I already mentioned how fortuitous it is that Mr. Guillen just emailed us. His request is that should the district decide to have a legislative resolution, that we get that submitted by Tuesday, September 8th.
Okay.
You all will have a committee meeting probably within the next
We need to have one this month, yeah.
week or two.
Yep.
Well, and I wanna point out how lucky we are as a board that we have Miss Lorenzo on our board, because when she and I first had the opportunity up in Santa Fe at the Roundhouse, walking through, we couldn't go 15 feet without somebody walking out of their room to greet Miss Lorenzo. And she has such a wealth of knowledge and so many connections. And I can't imagine a better person to be on the committee for the district right now, especially laying this groundwork for what the board can do and what the involvement for the district is going to be, legislative, involvement. And also having all the years' experience up in Santa Fe, it's just fantastic. Walter, I'm not discounting you. You
No,
told
no.
us a lot about your
No, but she,
Your
like he
city and
said,
county
she got us
involvement,
there with our representatives and the lieutenant governor.
yeah, literally 15 feet, and
Yeah.
somebody was walking out of their, their office, their chambers to come in and greet her.
She
So
did.
I think
I was
that
very amazed.
we're
Yeah.
we're gonna be in really, really good hands with you, with you three and whomever else gets to
I'm, ex-
join.
I'm excited because we just surround ourselves with good people, smart people, and
For sure.
we're gonna do well.
Absolutely. Board members, did you have anything else that you wanted to add about the legislative committee priorities
The
and
Google
things?
form is still open. If you guys, if you have a great idea, hey, we need a food truck in Blue Water, and you think that's a great idea, you all can fill that form out. Mr. Chavez is watching it and tracking it.
But I just like the way you laid it out, the proposed annual timelines, that makes it easier for Donald Lynn and I to figure out what we need to do with these timelines.
And I'll work with the superintendent to send out an email so we can try to pinpoint a date to meet.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Madam
Mr.
President,
White?
board members, that takes us to the end of our work session presentations. We do need to break for executive session.
Excellent. So board members, at this time, we have executive session pursuant to section 10-15-1H4 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss possible or pending litigation regarding policy enforcement. No action will be taken and only the items listed will be discussed. Any amendments to the executive session, board members? All right, board members, may I please have a motion to move to executive session as presented? So moved. Make it to Ms. Lorenzo. And Walter, I'll give you the second. It has been moved by Ms. Lorenzo and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to move to executive session as presented. Mrs. Turley, roll call, please.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Here.
Ms.
Yes.
Lorenzo, Ms. Salazar,
Ms. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. The board has moved into executive session at 7:52 PM. It will take us a moment to get out of the main room and into our separate room. Could you mute us, please, sir?
I cleared my phone for you.
And yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about. I didn't listen to that.
All right, board members, the board met in executive session pursuant to section 10-15-1H4 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss possible or pending litigation regarding policy enforcement. No action was taken and only the items listed were discussed. Is there a motion to reconvene open session as presented?
So moved.
And a second? It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Ms. Salazar to reconvene open session as presented. Roll call, Mrs. Turley, please.
Mr. Avenue,
Here.
Ms. Lorenzo. Ms. Salazar. Ms. Lee.
Aye, the motion carries. The board has reconvened open session at 8:54 PM. Mr. Widener.
Madam President, board members, I do have a list of future agenda items. We do have a couple of more meetings this week that will be working on our strategic plan, but future agenda items, I have site student handbooks. I have the facility master plan for a work session. We are still working on a maintenance backhoe purchase that is somewhere in the future. GCCS transportation boundaries and the policy that goes with that, as well as district heating and cooling services contract. And then is there anything else you guys would like to see on a future agenda?
I think hearing more about the legislative is good. I think we need to
Because we did
the
do
audit.
September.
We've got to get the audit.
We have
Because
to-
we're,
And
we're
the
we're late.
independent audit will also be.
Excellent.
I will add those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we also, or maybe that's a strategic.
Okay. Email me. I do have some important announcements. I added to the agenda, you all have this flyer. This is a grant that we received through a partnership with the state of New Mexico as well as Resound Networks. They are a high-speed internet provider. They provide high-speed internet to rural areas. Part of our grant, we received it. We have 300 homes that could qualify for high-speed internet. And so we have been promoting this on social media for our rural families. But I wanted you all to know, board members, that that is a good thing that we're offering to our families, and it's a grant that I was very fortunate that we got. So I'm very, very excited to get, and excited for our kids to have good internet. And that kind of helps some of our more rural families, our more isolated families, and gives them access to education. So we have that grant. Our next gathering, we have a PSA. We're doing the welcome back this Thursday in 2 days at Grants High School. You're all invited to attend that. We'll be going over our Marzano learning and kind of setting our goals and proficiency plans for the year. And we'll be serving lunch from Elior Food Services and ice cream to everybody that afternoon. So you're welcome to come for any and all of that you want to.
What time does that start, sir?
We'll start at 8 AM. And then lunch will probably be like 11:30.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then on August 7th, we are coming together as a board for a training session for you all. We'll be here for 2 hours on Friday night from 3 to 5 p.m. Friday afternoon from 3 to 5. And then on August 8th, we will be here from 8:30 until 4:30. All day working on strategic plan. I look forward to that work and I'm excited to work with the committee. I think it's gonna be great. Our next regular board meeting is going to be August 18th. We start school on August 10th. And then our pre-K students come on August 17th. Our next regular board meeting is August 18th. So that's all of the announcements I have.
What feast day was in the calendar?
Is it Encinal?
Say that again?
Which
What
feast
feast?
day is on the calendar?
Yeah, it's the second, I think it's the second.
August 10th?
They start now.
We have these on August.
And I think Encinal is kind of an early feast.
So historically, it's been the second and the 19th. Laguna's is the 19th, but if it falls on a weekend and we don't take that day off, we only take the MOU, I guess, that we had was we take the days off that fall on a school day.
Good question.
Anything else, sir?
Madam President, I
Recommend?
recommend that we adjourn.
Wonderful. Board members, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting as presented? A second. They raced for that one. It has been moved by Mr. Hadamio and seconded by Ms. Salazar to adjourn the meeting as presented. Mrs. Turley, roll call on this one. please.
Mr. Hotmail,
Yes.
Ms. Lorenzo,
Yes.
Ms. Salazar, Ms. Lee.
Aye, motion carries. The board adjourned at 9 PM.
Oh, I hate. I gotta do this by Friday, huh?
Yeah, but it's not too bad.
No.
If you look at the state average, we wanna be around there.
I'll look at it.
If we could get our kids competing with kids in Portales and kids in Las Cruces and kids in Santa Fe.
Oh, like you said, Bluefield.
Right?
Bloomfield had a really good superintendent for a long time. And she was really good about kind of establishing their protocols. She has since left. He retired 2 years ago. There's a lot to
Did
be
you
said for that.
get the paper? I wrote Bobby's
Yes,
information.
And then
on
I'll email you then. I thought I had it on me.
and I will send your people all information from Bonnie.
Perfect.
And I think Gunny's is just
Chanda and I are gonna meet with them
Gunny,
tomorrow.
United States Marine Corps, I'm sure. So
He's,
I'll find it. But he was excited.
he's on the city
Yeah,
council.
He might have a
so
city.
He'll have the city
Yeah, that-
one.
I couldn't find it.
And I can always call him.
But,
I can
And if you guys are interested, I know we're after the meeting, but if you're interested in seeing what that application is, if you go to the NFTD website, scroll down to the bottom, there's a thing that says waivers. There's like charters and waivers. There's the actual like
and I
application
didn't have
for
to drink
school
this water. I didn't
waiver,
choke.
like closure, whatever.
I did
You just wanna
sneeze,
see the
though.
6 pages. just to-
All right now?
Ragweed. It's terrible.
Anyone have-
Rag